looks different, doesn't it? Well, the video that maybe some of you have been waiting for. It's going to be the Trident 660 versus the Street Triple RS, and what I think would be a better livable bike. So I've created a pros and cons list, and I'm going to go through over both of them. Quick rides on each. Man, right off the gate, I do miss riding this thing. It's been, let's see, I bought the Street Triple last month, so it's been about a month since I've ridden it. I forgot how loud this thing is. It's a good bike, man. It's a really good bike. It's comfy, it's still nimble. It's just, I mean, this is going to be a really hard video for me to make because listen to it, I really do love both of these bikes, and I think that they serve pretty much, at the end of the day, kind of the same purpose. Unless realistically, if you go to the track, get the Street Triple, and if you don't, then the Trident's going to be more for you. But fuel level low, come on, Jared. But anyway, I do have a pros and cons list, so I'm going to go ahead and get on into that. So, first and foremost, the pros. We're going to start with the comfort of this bike. You guys know how tall I am. I've said it probably 30 times. 5'5", 5'6" when I wake up. The ergonomics of this bike are definitely a lot more relaxed. You're in a more upright position. Definitely more for the kind of just touring or you know, hanging around, just riding around. Oh, that was good. But I mean, it's a lot less on your back. The Street Triple's very leaned over, but I'm going to try my best not to talk about the Street Triple while I'm talking about the Trident, just because that one is the most fresh in my mind. But no, it's definitely more comfortable. It's lower to the ground. That's a huge thing, and that kind of gets me back into the second one, which is that it's like a speed cruiser. Not a speed triple, but like a speed cruiser, right? And that has a lot to do with just the engines, the seating position, the ergonomics of this bike. It shares a lot of characteristics of the other bike that I'll be talking about today, but there are lots of changes as well. Second one, and this is going to be just quick, right? Because if I go off on tangents and talk about this forever, it's going to be a very long video. So I'm just going to go through it, run down, and then at the end I'll give you a final, you know, what my thoughts are. So undo typing. No, we're good. So the next one is going to be the gas mileage on this bike. Now the funny thing is, I complained so much on the other bike that I always fill it up, that I'm always filling it up, and here I am needing to fill this bike up. Again, thank you, Jared, for that one. But it is true. The bike makes, I believe, somewhere in the ballpark of like 50 or 60 horsepower less than the other bike. It's definitely no slouch though, but that is going to result in just better MPG. That's just how it typically, I mean, if you have a 1.8 liter whatever, you know, hot rod, 1.8 liter hot rod is going to have better gas mileage than, you know, a V8 or V6, straight 6, BMW guys. You know, it's just going to. That's just the name of the game. So yes, gas mileage is going to be a lot better with this bike. And then the next part, we're going to get more into, I guess, like pricing of things, right? So the next one is going to be like part availability / pricing on those parts. Now this is kind of a first of its kind. I know that there was an old Trident back in the day, but now this one, there's a new one, right? And there's a pretty decent amount of parts for this bike. I mean, if you watched my other video on this bike with the all the mods that I've done, right? It's not necessarily a small list, not a huge list, but it's not a small list. And I think that that's just because this is a great entry level Triumph. I mean, I think, if I remember correctly, you can get these things for under 10 grand, which I think is, you know, not a lot of money for a bike like this, right? I mean, if you put this next to an MT-07, and I know I've said in past videos that I haven't ridden an MT-07, I don't think, I still wouldn't, just based off looks, man, this thing is just like, it's classic. It's got a classic look. that I personally lean for. Obviously that's, you know, a personal opinion, but you know, middleweights, you know, 600cc bikes, I don't think, in my opinion, that there is anything that it's better. Fit and finish and looks. That's just my opinion. And then next on that list is going to be just all around cheaper, right? I was talking about the cheaper price for a Triumph, but not, you know, cheaper gas, cheaper insurance, you know, just things with this bike compared to the other bike, the Street Triple, are going to be cheaper. It's just how it is. Maintenance for this bike has, I believe, if I read correctly, and I'm like 95% sure, it's got like a 10,000 mile interval for like oil changes and stuff. Now obviously you want to do your routine maintenance, like you're checking your chain and nut and bolt check, you know, make sure that the bike's good, right? Still check your oil. I personally don't believe in 10,000 mile oil changes, though some might. I think you can get away with it, sure. I just wouldn't. So yeah, I mean, it's just I like to say that this is a cheaper Street Triple if you're on a budget. That is kind of the greatest way to describe it. All right, and then this is going to be what I believe to be a perfect beginner bike. And when I say that, it's still very capable. Like, it is very, very capable. Okay. I'm riding this thing like the other bike, which is even more capable, so I really need to kind of tone it down there. That felt a lot faster than I'm sure it looked. Okay, yes, so I believe the thing has like 80 horsepower, which is, you know, more than enough. And I think it's got somewhere around the lines of like 40 torque, which is great. I think that that's pretty much good for anybody. I mean, you saw back there, you know, I was ripping it. I mean, and this bike is modified. You know this, right? It's tuned, it's got an exhaust, it's all the fun stuff. So I mean, it's, maybe that's not a great example, but no, it's just, it goes to show that this bike can be anything that you want it to be, realistically. You want to go on long rides, this is the bike. You want to rip around in the hills like I am, this is the bike. The Street Triple will do the second part better, but skill level wise, I mean, I have equally, no, I'm not gonna say that. I don't have equally. I have a ton of fun on this bike, without a doubt. If the Street Triple didn't exist in my life, I would still be perfectly content with this thing. And that's probably the answer that you're thinking of, that you're looking for, right? Is if the Street Triple didn't exist, would I still have this? Yes, and I still have it even though I have the Street Triple. Poor financial decisions? Maybe. You can be the judge of that. Regardless, fantastic bike. But every bike has cons. And these are going to be mine. So first off, it's kind of meh for freeway speeds, right? No wind protection, right? The gearing is a little short in 6, so you're pretty high up in RPM when you're cruising at 6th gear. But I mean, it's not terrible. Just don't expect to sit at 80 for, you know, a long time. 60, if your traffic is like that, 60 miles an hour would probably be okay. But if you're going long back roads, 80 miles an hour, you're probably going to get some fatigue, if you will. I know they make fairings. I don't like the looks of those. Hello. I don't like the looks of those, so that's not going to be for me. Maybe it's for you. Who knows? Regardless, yeah, freeway speeds kind of suffer. And then what I just learned, that I thought these brakes were excellent, and they are. They're fine. They're not excellent. They're good. They're Nissans. I think they're just single piston up front, dual sit single pistons. They're just moderate brakes. They're nothing to write home about. I think that, you know, other bikes might have better, or they might even have the same. I think that they work for this bike. like I said, it could be your perfect beginner bike. This bike just, you know, I would like a little better braking, and I know that you can buy like a Brembo kit for it. It's expensive. I think it's like $2 grand, and that's just, I don't think that that's really worth it, honestly. So yeah. Ooh. Let's see, perfect. Yeah, so the next thing I will get into is going to be the TFT. So you can see that it's like that probably 2x2 box down there. Hold on, I need to wipe my nose. Oh. Okay, you see that little like 2x2 box down there? It's usable. It's definitely fine, right? It's nice because you're not really distracted while looking at it, which I really like. And this thing is just undoing typing like nobody's business. It's nice. I just, you know, you could have made it the whole thing and charged everybody $100 more for the bike. It'd have been fine. I would have appreciated it, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible by any means. Okay, the last thing. Or no, I have 2 more things. This is definitely personal. I don't like the tire hugger. I thought I liked it when I got the bike, and I grew to just not like it. I understand it keeps water and dirt off your back. I just think it ruins the look of the bike. I really do. You've seen how this thing looks with the custom plate that I did. I truly think that that's the best route to go. Even underneath the rear seat where the taillight is, also a good idea. I personally I don't like the tire hugger. That's it. And then lastly on this bike, the exhaust. Now, this is a weird one, right? Because let's say you're thinking about a 2022 Street Triple, right? You can put a slip-on on that and save yourself a lot of money. If you have a 24 RS, it's going to cost you the same, if not more. The Zard for the Trident, which I think is the best looking exhaust, best sounding exhaust, is expensive. It's like $1,200, which is more than 1/10 of what this bike costs. So I mean, or I guess it's probably a little bit more than 1/10. I don't know fractions. I'm not very good at that, but I just think that the Zard for what it is a little bit overpriced. I understand that it is Italian, but it's just a little expensive, man. It's just expensive. Whereas if you did the Street Triple, like if you did a 22 Street Triple, you have the options of like a Yoshi or the Leo Vinci or other exhausts that are, you know, sub like $800. The SC Project S1 is expensive no matter what year you have. It's even more expensive if you have a 24, but the exhausts for this bike are expensive because the exhaust is all one piece. There's no slip-on available for this bike because, like the 24 RS, it is one piece. Yeah, kind of lame, but it is what it is. Hey, you hear this thing? These things are just a riot. So the DNK tune, which is what I have on this thing, the DNA air filter, and the Zard exhaust, those 3 things make this bike just like incredible. It really does. And I think that that's going to go ahead and level out my thoughts for this bike. If you have any other questions, obviously on the Trident, throw them down. You guys should know by now I answer pretty damn quick. But yeah, that's gonna go ahead and sum the review up for this bike, the pros and cons for it. It's an excellent bike. You really cannot go wrong with it. For the price point, it's your entry level to get your foot in the door in the world of Triumph, which is the best, hands down. It's an addiction, and it's awesome. So yeah, so I hope you like the list. I'm gonna go home and grab the Street Triple. There's a little bit of rock in the road. Grab the Street Triple and go do the same thing. Okay, now we are on the Street Triple. And just like the last bike, I'm gonna go through the pros and cons. Hello, people, notice me. Okay, yes, so Man, this bike feels a lot different. I didn't actually think it would be that big of a difference. Oh no, it's this thing is just the complete ergonomics. I feel like I'm sitting on it. The Trident, I feel like I'm sitting in it, if that makes any sense. So take that into consideration. And that kind of brings me into the first talking point here, which is going to be, it's sporty. It's track ready. This thing's a demon. It's an animal. It wants to hurt you, but you need to respect it, and it won't. What I mean by that, it is inspiring, to say the least. It will do anything you ask it to do, and it'll do it good. And I mean that. I am in no way good enough to outgrow this bike, and it would probably take me years, if not decades, to be able to ride good enough to outperform this bike, or the capabilities of this bike. It is just, it's crazy. It's crazy. Just go ride one. If you haven't, you'll know what I mean once you ride one. Second part is going to be, it's an iconic bike. I don't know that the Trident kind of is too, right, with the older model, but it doesn't feel or look the same from what I could tell as the old bike. This thing is just like, the Street Triples came out in, what was it, 2003 or 6? I could be totally wrong there. But they've just been incredible bikes since, right? I mean, it says something for a bike that has ran this long without, you know, name changes or whatever, right? They still have the same Street Triple line, so, you know, it's got to say something for it. It's just an iconic bike, in my opinion, with its weird looking headlights, because yes, they are very weird, and I'll be honest with you, I did not like them at first, before I even got this here Street Triple. But I've come to love them. I think that they're cool, they're unique, they're different, and, you know, I like them. Okay, so I have on my list, it says top-notch parts. I don't know what that means, so I'm going to summarize two things to what I think it could be. Top-notch parts meaning you have really good quality parts that are made for this bike. You also have your cheap China stuff, but then also just the fit and finish of this bike itself is completely different than the Trident. Okay? And that's why, I mean, but that's what makes the Trident, right, or Trident, your like budget bike, your entry. It's still kind of expensive for a budget bike, but it's what makes it your like entry level Triumph. They do that so that they can get it out to a higher market. I think it's super cool that, you know, countries all over the world have that bike, because it's a cheaper bike. I see tons of videos on it. It's great. I mean, I have one. They're fantastic, right? So the market for them is huge for the Trident, but we're on the Street Triple, so I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but this is definitely more of Triumph's premium bike. It's not a Speed Triple or an RR or the Moto 2 version of this bike, but it's definitely more premium. I think it's like $14,500 for these things. I mean, after all the dealer fees, I think they start at like 12 or 13. I forget. I try not to think about it. Real, right? So yes, top-notch parts. It's just a good built bike. Wide power band. And I was talking to Kenny from Cascade Moto, the dealership, yesterday about this, and it really made me realize that like this bike goes high in the RPM, and I mean high. I hit like 9K and I think that I'm ready to shift, and I still have like 5,000 or 4,000 RPMs more that I can go through. It's crazy, and this bike screams. Like, I've never ridden something, or driven something for the matter, ridden if you're on a bike, drive if you're in a car, that has had such a high RPM. And so it's a little daunting to me when I get up there and I hear the bike roar at that. I'm just like, what is this person doing? You could have made it right. It's daunting when you get up that high and you're like, okay, I feel like I should shift, but I'm at $8,000 and I just got into like peak power. Like, don't shift, let her eat, bud. And I'm like, well, I gotta, because it's just, that's all I know realistically. So it takes a little bit of getting used to on that forefront of it, but yeah, this thing just has super long power band, and it's fun. Maybe power band isn't the word. I think it is, but you know what I mean. It's just like you have a lot to play within your gears. which they revised on this year. First gear being a lot longer, so riding it around the city and town and whatnot, slower speeds is going to be a lot better. But yeah, no, so 2nd through 6th is going to be pretty short, but that's makes it fun because you get to shift a lot. So I have my next point on this is going to be that the bike is extremely capable. And what I mean by that is that it's capable to do everything, just like the Trident is. However, there are some circumstances where this would be better than the other, and vice versa, right? Like this obviously would be better on the track or up in the hills. That's just factual, right? It's down to the components, and it's down to the way that you're sitting on the bike. It's down to a lot, right? This will do better in twisty roads. The Trident will do better on cruises. So if you were a new beginner and you have a dream of being a more sportier rider, and you have access to roads just like these up here, then I would say the Trident is probably going to be a great bike for you to learn on. But you can go ahead and skip it, just because this thing is, it can kill you, but it won't kill you, if you know what I mean. It's not a leader bike. It's not a freaking turbo Hayabusa or an H2 or anything. It's not that by any means. It's just it's a purebred naked sports bike. That's just the way I like to call it. On longer rides, I would definitely probably take the Trident, but the Street Triple is super capable of doing so. After this bump, I'll let her eat. Yeah, it's just the Trident's more comfortable. That's just flat out the case. I'm sorry if you disagree, but it's going to be the case. Maybe you've clicked on this and you're looking at a 2024 Street Triple. Great. Slip-ons are compatible. Or did I say 24? Say you're looking at a 2022 or 23 in US. Let's just say 22. Let's say you're looking for a 22 Street Triple, and well, you have the option to just throw a slip-on right onto the bike, which I mentioned in the Trident section of this video. No harm there. It'll bolt right up, no problems. It's made for the bike. However, on the 24s, as you all know, because I've said it 30 billion times, there's a lot more work that goes into it, which is fine, not a problem. But yeah, so slip-on compatible for 22s, that's a big plus to me. Something that the Trident, no matter the year, is not capable of, so something to think about. And then last on the list is going to be the horsepower of this here bike. 130 horsepower is more than pretty much 90% of what the population needs. I'll be the first to admit that even 80 horsepower on the Trident is a riot. But you have it at your fingertips, and it's pretty high up, so you're not going to find 130 horsepower while you're cruising around the streets, right? You're not going to find that. You will, however, find it up top, like I mentioned previously. So it makes that's what I mean about the bike is pretty capable to be like kind of a sportier bike, but also cruise at the same time. But that was the pros for this bike, the Street Triple, and now I'm going to go ahead and get into the cons. The cons for this list, or for this bike, sorry. And this is just stuff that I've observed over the month and a half that I've ridden this bike. The MPG is bad. I don't know if that's just because I'm just ripping this thing all the time, or I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. It's both. It is both of those things. But it does not get good MPG compared to the Trident at all. Let's see what I'm getting right now. On a sporty ride, hold on, I gotta flip through 90 things. Average, oh well, I'm averaging 40, which I guess isn't that bad. I mean, I'll take that. But I mean, and maybe that's gonna be different with the new oil, because like I said, the oil does somewhat has some effect on gas mileage. It's not a lot, but it might. But I mean, I'm also not riding the bike super hard because I'm trying to think and talk about the video. Now, MPG is kind of just what you make of it. I'm sure if you're riding in straight lines on highways and stuff, you're going to get much better than that. Yeah, and speaking of long time, it's just not as comfortable as the Trident. It is comfortable, but it's not as comfortable as the Trident. The Trident has like a different seat It feels like a cheaper seat, but it's like, I don't know, it's more squishy. The Trident seat is pretty firm, and maybe that's just because maybe the Street Triple seat needs to break in, but I mean, it is what it is. The Trident seat has more of like curvature around your inner thighs, whereas the Street Triple is kind of flat. So take that with what you will. But the suspension, which I don't think I touched on in the Trident section of this video, the suspension is, of course, way better on the Street Triple. You are going to get better forks, you're going to get better shocks. It's a no-brainer. If you're going for track-oriented, more sporty, you're going to want to get the Street Triple just based on the suspension alone. I know that was the biggest complaint on MT-07s, was their suspension was trash. And I don't think that the Trident suspension is trash, but it's definitely not as good as this. It's got the hoo-ha in the rear and the hell yeah in the front. I don't know what they are. I just ride the bike. You can watch all the other videos reviewing this for the press release. They'll tell you everything you want to know about it. But yes, the suspension on this bike is very nice. I could definitely tell the difference just in minor bumps like that. Right? I mean, you heard the little shake in my voice, but I didn't really feel it in my seat. The rear shock does a great job at dampening it, and this bike isn't even set up for my weight yet. So maybe once I do that, it'll be better. My friend. I may have touched on this, so I may include it, I may not. This is not a beginner's bike. It's not. If you have past experience of riding dirt bikes, or maybe pit bikes, which I guess is a dirt bike, or maybe slower street bikes, well, that would mean you have riding experience. If you have no riding experience, I wouldn't recommend this bike. You can get yourself into a lot of trouble on this here bike, and I simply wouldn't recommend it. If you've gotten this far in the video and you've never ridden a bike before, I'm genuinely gonna say this probably isn't the bike for you. I go ride the Trident. It's a perfectly suited bike for all skill levels. I would say this is definitely a great intermediate bike. I don't think I would justify it as like being too much for an intermediate. It's definitely an intermediate bike. At the end of the day, it's just fun. You can go watch tons of different videos. I think Yami Noob has a good video on the Street Triple. It's an older one, but still a Street Triple, on how he says it's not a beginner bike, because truthfully it's not. It's not. This thing it can be a track weapon, it could be a mountain weapon, it could be a street weapon, it could be whatever you want it to be. But a beginner bike, it is not. And it's just, I think it's mostly just because of the price of this thing and the speed of this thing, and it's just like, if you're not used to the ergonomics of this thing, then it's kind of just a little But no, I mean, if you're a beginner, I wouldn't recommend it. That's just like that, simple as that. Wouldn't recommend it. The final thing on the cons list, which I don't even know if I've even declared this as the cons list. I'll put it in the description below, but yeah, insurance is kind of a lot on this bike. Now, I'm not going to tell you how much I pay. I'm just going to tell you that it's a lot more than the Trident, sorry. And it's just because it's a brand new bike, and it's a lot more horsepower than the Trident. It's just something to consider. I am I'm going to say late 20s now. I am in my late 20s. I have no accidents on my record, no moving violations, nothing. I've literally just clean, straight guy. Okay, nothing. And it's up there. I'll tell you this much. It's just over 4 digits a year. And that could just be the insurance that I have. I need to shop around more, but yeah, it's not terrific. Or actually, I think it's a little bit more over the 4-digit mark. Hello. So yeah, insurance is going to be expensive on this bike because they're going to view it as a street bike, and automatically, if it's over, three digits of horsepower, I think that's going to hike up the price a bit. So it's just something to consider. If you're not worried about that and price doesn't matter to you, get it. So that is going to go ahead and wrap up the pros and cons of both the Trident 660 and the RS. for a bonus thing, I wanted to throw in some similarities that I see between the two bikes, and why you shouldn't feel left out if you got either or, right? So first off is the exhaust note. Okay, they're both triples. They're both going to sound incredible. The best sounding bikes in the world are triples. That's factual. I didn't make that up. Okay, that it is what it is. Don't get mad at me. Triples sound the best. Sorry, not sorry. And then it's just a great fit and finish that you see on both bikes. Now, obviously, the RS is going to have better parts on it, so it's going to have a little bit more of that. You know, it's going to be fitter, and it's going to look more finished. But both the Trident and the RS have great quality on them. I have no complaints on either. If I were jumping onto both, I would have been like, whoa, that's ugly, or I wish that was different, or they could have filled that, blah blah blah. It's just a good bike for the price and for what it is. It's a Triumph. And then the another thing that I guess you could say, I mean, it is similar. They're both Triumphs, so you get to be a part of the culture that is Triumph. If you pay attention to it, it's very cool. And I can't speak for any other company. I think BMW is pretty much the same way too. But the culture of Triumph is just, it's kind of unmatched. We all have this sort of, we are distinguished, right? We are gentlemen, right? Because Triumphs are more of that, like, you know, the British fancy, you know, hike up your tie type of bike. It's just what it is. I should be wearing a suit while I ride this thing. That's how I feel sometimes. I should be head to toe, you know, Gucci suit. Maybe that may make me seem conceited, or I think that might be the word. Prejudice? Nope, that's not it. I don't know. But either way, the culture of it is really cool. And then I'm going to end it with, both have quick shifters, but the quick shifter is stock on the 2024 RS, whereas the it's not on the Trident. And I think it's like $300, so it's definitely something to consider. But absolutely necessary. I wouldn't even say it's like it's more than worth it. It's necessary on the Trident. Anyway, if you, like I mentioned, if you have any questions on either bike, or something that I missed that maybe you wish I would have touched, please let me know. Obviously I will reply as quick as I can. Hope to get this video out to you guys as soon as possible. Shouldn't be a ton of editing, so you'll probably be watching it tonight. I'm not exactly sure if I filmed like a what would I take part while I was riding, just because I was trying to squeeze in as much as I could and not make this an hour-and-a-half long video. But if it were me, if I could go back and I had none of these bikes at my current skill level, I would choose the Street Triple. And I only say that because I think it would take me a very, very long time to outgrow the Street Triple. I wouldn't say necessarily that I've outgrown the Trident, but I've definitely, I think, outgone its capabilities up in the hills. And that could just be my lack of experience in actually handling a bike like this, but I feel a lot more confident on the Street Triple. I feel like that's a bike that I could ride and ride and ride. And that's not to say that I couldn't do the same on the Trident, but I think that honestly, and it might just be the honeymoon phase, I just think that the Street Triple is just a different grade of bike. At the end of the day, I would personally take the Street Triple. I think that it gives a lot more room to grow into it, and it gives everybody just the ability to, I guess, just use it for whatever you want. There's no hold back on that, right? It may not be as comfortable on long rides, but on the little stints on the rides of maybe twisties, you're gonna have more fun. Now the Trident is gonna be a more budget-friendly bike. It's gonna have better gas mileage, cheaper on insurance, this and that. This video is probably all over the place, but yes, I figure I would just go through it real quick. So it's up to you. I still think that the Trident is a fantastic bike, and I've mentioned that if the Street Triple didn't exist in my life, I would still be perfectly happy with this. So I'm pretty indifferent, but if it were me, I would go Street Triple. Okay, that's gonna go ahead and close out the video. I may have already filmed an intro, but I'm gonna film this again. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that this helped in any way. I've mentioned it probably 3 times now. If you guys have any questions, or if I missed anything, feel free to reach out and ask, throw it in the comments, DM me on Instagram. I'm always willing to talk and help answer anything. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And if you enjoyed the video, I'm glad. I'm not gonna ask you to thumbs it up. I don't care. If you didn't like it, hit the thumbs down button. It's not gonna change my life. I'm still gonna do this because it's fun. But yeah, take care, everybody.